¿Qué pasó, YouTube? ARCHMAN here. Long time no see. Well, we're pretty goddamn crooked here. How's that? A little better. Alright. So, yeah. Long time no see, guys. Out here in the desert. Kicking it. Miller time. Guess it's been about 6 months since my last review. Shit. I just hadn't been overwhelmed with a whole lot of stuff lately, so but I want to talk a little bit about my Strider MFS right now, okay? And the main reason I'm doing this, I guess, knife review is because, well, I've been carrying this Strider SMF for 6 months or so now, and there's just not very much talk about this here little knife. And earlier today, I mean, actually it's kind of, you know, Strider knives in general have kind of overwhelmed me a little bit lately, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. Basically, shit, well, first thing I'll just say right out of the box real quick with this knife, did get it brand new from Blue Line Gear, excellent place to deal with. Ryan, the proprietor of that place, is awesome, really good guy, loves to talk about the knives. Very patient as well. Thank you, Ryan, if you're watching this video. But right out of the box, you know, I was very underwhelmed with this knife. First off, the way that Strider had done the cord wrap, which I really like the way it looks, and it's really nice on some of their longer handled knives. I felt like this knife was just, I have no idea what the purpose of that cord wrap was. Maybe tiny midget hands or something. I'm a big guy, I've got big hands, but this knife was just ridiculously uncomfortable with the way it was wrapped. I mean, just a really short section of thick, you know, twisted, the way they do their cord wrap, you know, handle. I mean, I just was like, fuck, man, I don't know what to do with this knife. So I kind of shelved it for like a week or so, and then I was like, you know what, goddamn it, I got to check it out. So rewrapped the handle just to fit a little bit better, my hand a little bit better. Got a couple more wraps farther down the handle, slimmed it out a little bit, and it looks pretty good. Got it real tight and all that stuff. Second thing is, you know, I've had 9, I believe 9 that I remember Strider knives, and 4 or 5 of those have had the bead blasted tiger stripe finish, which is ridiculous shitty finish on a knife. I mean, not only does it just want to be rusty, it's so grabby when you're cutting material that it's just shitty, you know. It took me a long time to remove that finish. You can probably still see it just a little bit, but I got it nice and smooth. I mean, transformed the knife 100%, you know. I mean, there's no comparison with the way it performs now and the way that it did out of the box. So yeah, I wanted to do this review though just because this knife is one hell of a performer, you know. It's fucking amazing, actually, you know. Earlier today, I broke my hatchet handle, hickory handle, and went to the hardware store, just a little bitty hardware store out here, and they had like just a couple of little hammer handles, both of which were not suitable for my little hatchet. I mailed it off because I wasn't happy with the handle at all after I finished it, but I mailed it off to get a new handle put on it, so I don't have it to show you. But so what I did was I sawed off the handle and whittled it away to fit in the hatchet. And hickory is some hard shit, you know. It's very, very difficult to carve. And I started off with this MFS just because it's what I had on my belt at the time, what I was carrying at the time, and was really happy with the performance of it. And then I just thought, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my SE3 and see how it does. And you know, I'm pretty good at sharpening knives, and I've got a good idea of, you know, getting a good edge without getting a wire edge on there, you know, and letting the burr just get out of control where it folds over. So I would say that I had a really good edge on both the knives when I started. Actually, probably a better edge on the SE. And this MFS just blew this knife out of this SE out of the water. Like, no comparison. I mean, this thing lost its edge really fast. I mean, it's piss poor right now. Since then, it took me a long time to get the edge back on the Strider, but all things considered, it wasn't half bad. You know, I mean, it actually was astounding. You know, because at one point I hammered the head back on the hatchet, and then I wanted to whittle a little bit more away from it, and you know, being really careful, I slipped and hit the head of the hatchet, and I did get a little chip in the blade, but I also slipped a couple times with this guy and chipped the fucking ever-loving hell out of it. And but I don't know. Suffice it to say, I really like this SE3, but that's some of the hardest work that I've put either of these knives through, and I'm just astounded with how well this MFS performed. Lately, I've been just really screwing around with a bunch of my knives and trying them out and testing them out. And I also have, as far as fixed blades go, I have Chris Reeve knives in Yale, and again, you know, this knife, this MFS, really outperforms this in Yale. I mean, your mileage may vary on that, but my experience has been, I don't know, the Strider S30V, and I have an MFS or a SMF and S35VN. Currently, it is unquestionably my favorite steel. I mean, it's not like I've used every knife out there, every steel out there, but I've had some experience with lots of different knives. I don't know, 50 plus different knives, and I don't use the shit out of all of them, but I do use all the knives that pass through my hands. And the Strider heat treat is just absolutely outstanding. I mean, it is just a solid performer. In my opinion, it's, all things considered, S30V wise, it's easier to touch up than the other knives that I have too. Maybe because of that higher hardness. I find myself really struggling with getting the burr off of the softer heat treat of like Chris Reeve knives. I mean, all things considered, I still do believe that the Chris Reeve knife Sabenza is the finest folding knife that you can buy. But as far as like the steel goes and the edge retention, sharpening, all this stuff, I don't know. I'm starting to really prefer these Strider knives. And I mean, I know that I've got several videos on Strider knives out there, and shit, man, I have not even reviewed half the ones that I've had either. And yeah, I guess this is the only one that I've reviewed so far that I actually currently have as well either. So, but I wanted this video to be short, and it's already been like 8 minutes, so I really can't recommend this knife enough. It's just not very talked about. It's very simple. I mean, it's a little pricey for what, I mean, it is pricey, $200 for this just piece of metal here. But for what you get, and I mean, I did have to do some work on it to get it where it is now. But I'm extremely happy with the knife, all things considered. Very simple, their Kydex is my favorite, When I remolded this, or when I redid the cord wrap, I had to remold the Kydex. Very easy though, you just dip it in boiling water, put the knife back in it, and squeeze it until it cools off, and then it's fine, very secure. But anyhow guys, palabra a tu madre, don't let your meatloaf, boys.